What's up, everybody? Welcome to the live stream. Welcome to the live stream. Woo! I am so happy. That's such a cool graphic. I love that. That's great. That's like, it's not pixel art exactly. Oh my God. Pixel art. I want pixel art. I want pixel art of my room. Oh my God, that would be so much work. Because you have to like manually draw pixel art. Nobody could just AI. Yeah, I know. Somebody could, like, there's AI pixel art generators. That would be so cool to have pixel art. You know what, like, it reminds me of? You know what it reminds me of? I don't know if I can even find this. Hello, images, images. There we go. No, I'm not going to find it. Oh, well, I'll never find it, so I'm not going to waste any more time looking for it. That'd be really cool. Pixel art of this view. Well, we'll go with this instead. Very cool. No, downres does not work. That is not, that's the point. Super Deluxe, you should know better. Pixel art is not just downresed regular art. It is lovingly handcrafted. Look at this. Every pixel just placed exactly where it needs to be to evoke the sense of a thing. That's what's great about it. It evokes the sort of essence and the feel of a thing without actually representing it directly. I don't know why we're looking at Finn the Human pixel art. I mean, there are worse things we could look at, but that's so cool. It's like Impressionism. Yeah, exactly. What's up, guys? Welcome to the stream. I'm going to be answering your questions. I'm going to be trying to, anyway. I'm going to be answering your questions. Blunty's going to queue them up for me. Blunty's going to queue them up for me.
People got to ask them. We got to get those questions.
Yeah, sorry, I paused there, Blunty. I was reading a comment, and then I see. I looked like I was. Yeah, welcome to the stream. How are you doing tonight?
All right. All right.
Good, me too. Yeah, we got no questions queued up, just this one from Bardwell. Now, Meme FPV coming in with a question. Meme FPV coming in from the Discord. Let you guys know, these folks over here on the right-hand side of the screen are my patrons, and they frequent my Discord server, which you have to be a patron to frequent it. You can infrequent it too. That's up to you. And so we'll take some questions from the Discord server. We'll take some questions over here in the chat, of course. And of course, a little later in the stream, we'll hit the $sign and read the super chats. If you want to get your super chat queued up, typically I take some questions from the regular chat first, and then a little later in the stream, before the half-hour mark, we just start a super chat bonanza and read all the super chats. I don't know, Blunty. If I left a super chat on a stream and then had to wait a half hour for the guy to read my chat, I don't know. Is that normal for streaming? Or is that like incredibly inappropriate?
I think it depends on the stream and the dynamic. I know a lot of streams who wait, and I know a lot, like, I think the dynamic on Twitch, for instance, is to like immediately react to the chat, you know, but like I've seen a lot of YouTube chats kind of collect at the end. So.
Yeah, okay. Some of the streamers I watch, they'll get, some of them get so behind on the chat, on the super chats, that like by the end of the stream, they've got just 20 minutes of super chats that they didn't get to. So anyway, but I always like to just take questions from the regular chat first, you know, just so everybody, I don't want people to think I'm in it for the money. I'm in it for the money. I just don't want people to think that. Let's take a question. This question from Browild. First one we got queued up. Oh, it's a super chat. Okay, well, I guess I clicked on it, so I'm going to read it. I didn't actually get that it was a super chat. Okay, fair. Browild, thank you for a $20 super chat. Yikes. Opinion on the new IFlight Helen versus the Chimera 7 Pro for long-range FPV. Will you be making a review on it? Also, thoughts on Lumpy FPV. I'll take the last part first. Is there something I should know about Lumpy FPV? Because, I mean, like, my first thought is he's a absolutely bananas pilot. He's crazy. He is a crazy pilot. Just crazy. Here's 1 minute of his heavy hitters trick compilation. This is Lumpy FPV. I can do that. Oh, not that. Boom! Can't do that. Whoa, this guy's gonna take the backwards throwing from cricket. I can do that. Can't do that. Woo! Shut the fuck up! Oh my goodness. Whoa. Oh. Sometimes I can do this. I don't know about that. Oh, shut up! Whoa! All right, so he's good. Wait, is this the one I think it is? I know. He's good. He's good. He's absolutely crazy good. Lumpy FPV should be on your frickin' radar. I'll tell you what, if he's not. So when you say, what's your thoughts on Lumpy FPV, it makes me think that Lumpy FPV got caught, molesting a goat, and everybody knows about it except me, and you're wanting my feedback. And I'm going to go, yeah, no, Lumpy FPV, he's awesome. And then they're going to be like, Bardwell supports goat molesting. And then I'll just have to make a apology video. Like, I'm sorry. Let me do that in advance. To everyone who has been hurt by my unawareness of the current situation regarding Lumpy FPV and certain behaviors regarding certain farmyard animals which shall not be named out of a desire to avoid bringing up the pain caused by everyone, especially to the farmyard animal in question. I am sorry. I need more fake tears. I am sorry that I did not know that Lumpy FPV was found molesting a goat. I mean, a farmyard animal. In the future, I will endeavor to stay more in touch with which FPV pilots have been molesting farmyard animals so that an embarrassing incident like this does not happen again. If you're interested in helping make sure that happen, I have a Patreon. You can join for as little as $2 a month. You have to end every YouTube apology with a plug, right? Okay, he's great. Opinion on the new IFlight Helen. I guess for $20 you get 2 questions. Opinion on the IFlight Helen. It's a 10-inch. Yeah, well, 7 inches is good. 10 inches is better, right? Oh, not even too expensive. That's a fair price for something like this. So the 10-inch is going to be used for people who want longer range and more payload capacity than a 7-inch. It's going to be, well, what the hell are they got going on with their battery? What the frick is going on here? Is that like a... Oh, that's like a 3D render. That's not a real battery. That's way too square for a real battery. This design certainly seems reminiscent of what Chris Rosser was doing with the AOS 7. This kind of truss design. He certainly didn't invent it. It is a little, it's notable. But Chris Rosser works with iFlight on his, they make a bind and fly version of his 5-inch, so maybe there's some cross-pollination going on there. It looks like we don't have the two, we don't have the 2-piece arms though, and again it's a render, so. iFlight going further down the direction of like further away from sort of traditional carbon fiber frame manufacturing. Here we've got a full plastic body plate. This is clearly an aesthetic choice of where to put the antennas. This antenna placement is, it's not like it's bad, but it's not like optimal for for RC. I'd be very curious about the weight. That's true, Super Deluxe. It's a neat looking quad. Knowing iFlight, it probably flies pretty well and has innovative design. By the time you're up to a 10-inch, I don't think you're super concerned about durability. Somewhere between 7 and 10-inch, you cross the line where you no longer expect to be able to crash without spending a lot of money. That's my opinion.
What's the price difference from like 7 to 10 here? Is there like a big jump?
I don't think it's as much as you would think. Chimera 7 Pro V2, 6S HD, 665 to 854. No, that's like $200. That's pretty substantial. So, I mean, I don't know the exact specs for the 10-inch. Like, in terms of how much more, like, what are you going to get? It's still carrying a GoPro. So basically what you want is to be able to carry a bigger battery for a longer time. That's why you're going to, what are you doing? What are you doing, webpage? What are you doing? Can you behave yourself? No. This webpage does not like being half screen. It's freaking the fuck out. So what's the flight time that they list? What specs the aeroshell? Full access when maintenance work is being performed. Well, maybe. Let's see here. Flight time. Anybody see a flight time listed? Blunty, do they list the flight time? Max speed doesn't really mean a lot. Max hover time, here we go. Max cruise time, 23 minutes. That's not that great. What's the frickin'... Why is that? Well, what about the Chimera? Max hover time, 30 minutes. Okay, we'll go with the hover time. Max hover time, 30 minutes. Max hover time. So it has it has shorter hover time than the Chimera. It doesn't say which battery. That doesn't seem like... So it's heavier, bigger, more expensive, and flies for less time. Doesn't make any sense. It has to be that they've underspec'd the battery on this. That it can carry a much bigger battery. This must be like the Freestyle loadout. 30 minutes with an 8,000 milliamp hour battery. That's more like it. 30 minutes on an 8,000. So we get like 5 more minutes of flight time for $200 and we go up to a 10-inch quad. I wonder, like usually by the time you go to a 10-inch it's because you want to carry more weight. But if that weight is just going to be battery, I don't know. The 10-inch is presumably going to be a little bit less responsive than the 7-inch, but a little bit more efficient. Mr. Eddie Nunez says, would flying a 10-inch for mountain surfing be better than a 7-inch? Maybe. Generally, the bigger ones are steadier. Yeah. I feel like the 10-inch is going to be really at its best when you load it up with a battery and get much more flight time. You're going to get more power from those 10-inch props, more thrust, and you're going to be able to carry heavier weight. Maybe a higher cruising speed. What's the cruise speed? Well, max speed, 140 kilometers per hour for the 10-inch. Max speed. They list the same max speed of 140 kilometers per hour. I don't know if there's a reason why that would be. Is that 100 miles an hour? 140 kmh to mph. 86. No, there's no reason. So they list the same top speed. Who knows what the actual top speed is? I feel like there's an argument for the Helion 10 that is not being made by its spec sheet. The 10 is going to be a little better at pushing through the wind, as Eirik Toft points out. It's going to have a little more thrust and a little more stability and a little more flight time. But I don't know. I think for some people the 7 is going to be the right one. Anyway. Well, that's a good first question. Let's see here. Flush FPV wants to know, is there a trick to get the DVR to record on Fat Shark goggles? Well, Flush FPV, without knowing which Fat Shark goggles they are, is it the walk snail goggles? Is it analog goggles? What goggles are they? No, but generally, no, there's not a trick. You just push record and it records. Can I use the 90 FPS mode with the HD0 Scout goggle? The short answer is no. No. The Scout goggle, does it have... I'm like 99% sure that only the HD0 goggles fully support the 90 FPS mode. Let's double check though. I'm really sure about that. I've asked this question previously, and that was the answer. But we didn't specifically discuss the Scout goggle. What I want to know is what's the... I think this is a 60 FPS display. I think it has a 60 FPS display. It's not going to say, though, sadly. It's not going to say. But the Pie Snatcher, the other thing to keep in mind... Yeah, 60 FPS. Okay, great. So it's only got 60 FPS screens. Whether it will even... So the walk snail... I'm sorry. The HD0 standalone video transmitter... And I presume the Scout goggles also, although I didn't discuss this with, I think it was Ryan Quellet I talked to about this. They will show a video feed from a 90 FPS camera, but it is explicitly for spectating only. They will not actually show 90 FPS, and they're basically just dropping frames sort of, not randomly, but they're dropping frames sporadically to bring the feed down to 60 FPS. So you can spectate a 90 FPS pilot with those goggles, but you wouldn't want to use that to fly with, is the official answer. Super Deluxe got the new Fat Shark HDO 2.1. Is that... that's not a new goggle, right? Super Deluxe. That's not a new goggle. Oh my God. We have browserception. Browserception. Okay. Why is there a white halo in my GoPro footage around the shadow of my drone? Blunty? I don't know the answer, but I know this is a common question and I've seen the answer. Is there any chance you preemptively queued up a web page with the answer?
No.
You're fired. Oh no, please don't leave. Please don't leave. That was a joke. Please don't leave. God, I've overplayed my hand. Why is it a halo? Yes. Where's the link? Yeah, like this. This is what they're talking about. A white halo around the drone. That, of course, is... let's see. This is called Heiligenschein. Heiligenschein. Heiligenschein? How am I doing? How am I doing, German speakers?
There's a little Heiligenschein!
Right? Sorry, Blunty. What'd you say?
There's a little button there with a speaker that'll say it for you.
Oh, shut up.
Down by the word.
Oh, okay, here we go. Ready?
Heiligenschein.
Heiligenschein. That wasn't bad. I was pretty close. It's an optical phenomenon in which a bright spot appears around the shadow of the viewer's head in the presence of dew. It is known as the hot spot or Cellini's halo. Cellini, as pronounced in Italian, Cellini. It's the American stream. I can do that. So the answer is It still doesn't like say nearby spherical dew droplets act as lenses to focus the light on the surface beneath them. When this light scatters or reflects off the surface, the same lens refocuses that light into the direction from which it came, similar to a cat's eye retroreflector. So,
yeah, that seems to be the consistent thing that I'm seeing as well from different locations. Is it's moisture or condensation that causes this effect.
Yeah. So that's the answer. I knew that there was an answer out there. I never can remember what it is, but then when this question comes out, sometimes I just go look it up again. Celli to Celli? I don't know. I don't speak foreign languages. I don't speak no foreigners. Is this really 20 minutes behind, or is my YouTube behind? Matt Norton, in 20 minutes, when you find this comment, you're 20 minutes behind. You just started the stream. We've been going for 20 minutes. Okay. Let's see here. What's the best analog receiver module for HD0 goggles? I would pick the TBS Fusion. The Immersion RC Rapid Fire is equally as good, but somewhat more expensive. But if you can't find a Fusion in stock, get the Rapid Fire. But there is a new module from Speedy Bee that is supposed to be just as good and is only like $80 or $90. So it's even cheaper. I can't vouch for it because it's brand new. But if you wanted to save a little bit of money and get that Speedy Bee, it's supposed to be just as good. So there you go. Eu falo português. It's been a long time since I've actually practiced a Portuguese accent. Eu falo pouco. That's it. That's it. Eu não falo. That was my favorite part about learning Brazilian Portuguese. Não. Não. That little squiggle above the A. Means you go it up in your nose like that. Não. Pequena. It's more fair to say that I once spoke a small amount of Portuguese, and now I've forgotten almost all of it. So, who let TikTok Bardwell onto the live stream? Fair. Let's see here. 5-inch Freestyle ready-to-fly drone under $300. iFlight Nazgul V3. Not the Evoke V2. That's good, but it's not under $300. iFlight Nazgul V3. I'm disappointed that Black Jungle hasn't said anything about my Portuguese pronunciation. I've been waiting for his encouragement, validation. There's another word for it. It'll come to me. Let's do some super chats. Está falando bem português. If you're a teacher, you're welcome. I teach you Portuguese and practice my English. That's cool. I am not attempting to speak Portuguese anymore. I respect Portuguese, but I have no motivation currently to speak it. In fact, if I did speak it, then Black Jungle would talk to me more, and there would be more memes in my life. Anyway, let's do some super chats. Blunty, we'll come back to those. That chat about the motocross is an interesting one, Blunty. Keep that queued up. We'll get to it. But I am going to hit the super chats right now. We only got a few super chats, so if you're interested in getting your question read promptly, now is the time to hit the $ and leave a super chat. We're going to start with this one from Bucket. Thank you for $5. Bucket, I got HDO2s a couple years ago for future proofing. And then DJI came out and you realized the future was digital. No, okay, that's mean. What would you recommend for digital? Oh, you got the HDO2s because you want HDMI input. HD0 or Walk Snail, new goggles, or either of the VRX modules. If you have the HDO2s, so one way to approach this is to say, I'm going to get the VRX module I'm going to use my existing goggles, and you're not going to get the absolute best of either of the systems. With HD0, you're not going to get the lowest possible latency because of the HDMI input on the HD02s, and you're not going to get the 90 FPS mode, which also will increase the latency. And in a way, if you think about it, what has HD0 got? It's got ultra low latency and ultra smooth frame rate. That's the thing that it's really good at. And then there are other things that it's, let's face it, not as good at. And the HD0 fans will hate to hear me say this, but we got to be realistic. Let's just say undisputably the resolution isn't the same as the other systems. You could cherry pick an example where like Walksnail has gotten all blocky and HD0 instead of blocks it has static, but the it's HD0 doesn't get blocky, it gets staticky. So like you could cherry pick some examples where one's preferable to the other, but in general, it doesn't have the same resolution, doesn't have the same range and penetration. So if you're going to buy HD0 and use it with a third-party set of goggles, you're kind of not getting what it has to offer. On the other hand, with Walksnail, well, you're still not going to get the 100 frames per second. So you're going to have to use 60 frames per second, but latency was never Walksnail's strong point anyway. Then again, maybe it needs all the help it can get. So I think for an aftermarket receiver, I think you are getting more of the essence of the system with a Walksnail receiver on an HD02 goggle. Whereas with HD0, you're not really getting the things it's good at. You're kind of missing out. But if new goggles are in your budget, the HD0 goggles are a pretty crazy good choice. And you can put the Walksnail receiver on the HD0 goggles and get the full experience. And then that's the best of both worlds, but it's like $800. So, yeah.
Can I ask, wasn't there an issue with the HD02 HDMI input? If he's got an old pair, that might be a problem, right?
Some of them burned out and stopped working, is what I recall. But Fat Shark fixed them. But I would make sure that the HDMI input works.
Just be warned if you have those goggles for 2 years, you might have a burned out HDMI port, or the HDMI port may burn out easily and you may need it replaced. That was a problem that people were seeing when they started using the HDMI with the HD02s. You're
still not going to get the full resolution. No, the HD2s are 1920 by 1280 or something. 9060. You can get a 720p signal in there.
Super Deluxe says, claim your Fat Shark warranty now. I think as an allusion to who knows how long Fat Shark's going to be doing Fat Shark stuff. So,
I mean, I have had that thought. And the thing is, I've had that thought for 3 years now, so I kind of shut up about it. When DJI came out, this is 2019, kids, August, September 2019, the DJI digital FPV system came out, and I thought to myself, that's it, Fat Shark's fucked. What could Fat Shark do? They can't compete with this. Analog's going to go away, and Fat Shark is boned. This is the beginning of the end. And certainly analog market share has gone down. Immersion RC, who was Fat Shark's sister company, they were actually housed in the same building. Basically, Tony Cake's desk was across the other side of the lab, and they were very, very close. They developed the DVR board and the receiver modules for Fat Shark. They had Tony Cake and Immersion RC went, and now they are a part of Orca, so they've left. And then Fat Shark teamed up with HD0 to make the SharkBite system, and I thought, oh, there's something here. And then they dumped him, and they went with Walksnail, and I thought, oh, there's something here. And then Walksnail released the Goggles X, and I thought, is this it? Is this the part where Fat Shark finally has no more friends left to run to say, please help, I can make goggles, but I can't make FPV systems, help me, stay alive. And frankly, I'm done counting Fat Shark out at this point. They have proven that they have a resilience that I underestimated in 2019, and I won't do it again. So. Super Deluxe says, Fat Shark denied my repair and just shipped me new goggles for blowing the TVS diode on my goggles. Oh, well, that's good. That's good. RBB Thank you for 5 reais.
Whose comment is that one that was pinned?
Let's see. Which one was it? Oh, this one. RBB says, my first ExpressLRS 2 radios, and I will convert my quads and planes to ExpressLRS. About the bind setup. If I use a bind phrase, can I fly 2 or more quads or planes at the same time? Yes, but also no. Like, it will work. Both receivers will receive signal from the radio. The right way to do this, if you're serious about doing it correctly, is you have to turn telemetry off on all but one of the receivers or all of the receivers, because the telemetry transmissions will backtalk and mess things up. But you turn telemetry off, you plug in a bunch of receivers, and they all work. The challenge is that you can't fly 4 planes at the same time. You can't do it. So it will work, but you would have to have a system whereby all of these devices getting the exact same inputs was actually like useful, and they didn't just crash. But it will work. John Christie.
Can I ask a question? I thought that it looked for a match and then only grabbed the first one, not that it broadcast to all of them.
I know why you thought that. But I did a video. Where I flew 4 quads at once. I don't know if I can't freaking find it. And they all took off.
Gotcha.
It's gonna be a.
So it must be. I just must be confused, and it's just the first transmitter that's seen by the receiver is the only one that broadcasts to it. But you can do as many receivers as you want.
That makes sense because the receiver will pick up its hopping pattern from the transmitter that it sees. I know this is going to be another case where I think I published a video and I didn't, but I know for a fact I published this video. I just can't find the keywords for... I can't find the keywords for it. Man, I can't find it. What about illegal? What did I name it? What about FAA? Ah, got it. See, I didn't put ExpressLRS in the title. Now I'll find it again next time. So... Don't tell the FAA, but it's possible to fly more than one quadcopter at the same time with the same controller. And I say don't tell the FAA because they don't actually want you to. So here's what happens. We're armed. Let's do our basic check. Turn right. Okay. One of them flipped out. Arming. Right, pitch forward and back, looking good. Because it's madness. It's madness. They all just go different directions. Take guys at once. I mean, what if I put them in auto level mode? And one of them was barely lifting. I also equalized their weight. 0.0 grams difference between them. I don't know what's going to happen. It's the same thing. Auto level mode. Here we go. It's closer, but like... This is way better. Well, that went way better. Anyway, that's how that works. Still didn't go great. John Christie. John Christie asks, do I need to use both antennas on the DJI-O3 Air unit if I'm using ExpressLRS? If not, which antenna should I use? What does... Oh, John, I think you're thinking that one of the antennas is 2.4 and one of the antennas is 5 gigahertz. And so if you don't use the 2.4 gigahertz antenna, it won't like interfere with the LRS. No, you always should use both antennas on the O3 air unit, John. And don't worry, it doesn't matter if you're using ExpressLRS or not. Use both of them. It'll be fine. ExpressLRS will deal with that fine. Both of, and to answer the other question that I imagine you're asking, both of the antennas on the O3 air unit are dual band. It's not that there's one 2.4 and one 5.8. Quad City Bay Area, thank you for a $5 super chat. Freestyle is about stunts within 2 miles. Why upgrade O3 or Walksdale Future? I'm good. I mean, here's the thing. I would always like more range or penetration so that I can have better video further out. I would like to have full 50 megabits per second, 21 millisecond latency 2 miles out or behind a wall. Whereas right now, I'm at, 10 megabits per second, 35 milliseconds latency behind 2 walls of a concrete building. So when you hear that a video system can go 20 miles or whatever, don't think, well, shoot, I only fly 1 mile. I don't need it. You would always like more range or penetration unless you are at perfect maximum video all the time, which few people are. Bro Wild, thank you for a $5 super chat. Can you rank every video system from worst to best? No. Today's not that day. Here's why. Because there's a different best system for everybody. And I think I've been clear in the past about the pros and cons. I don't have a single best system that I always fly all the time. And I just don't feel like stirring the pot today. So I will, however, share this meme from Black Jungle. Thank you for your donation. Drone Me. Bro Wild. Drone Me, thank you for a $5 super chat. I have the G2 goggles and the FPV RC2 on the OG air unit with no OSD. Okay, gotcha. Betaflight 443 and MSP option was working with the V2 goggles and the Black RC. Am I missing something? No, nothing changes. The configuration and wiring of the flight controller is identical. So let's assume that the flight controller is set up correctly. I can't imagine. I don't know. Blunty, and is anything coming to you?
I mean, you had to wire it, so wiring could be an issue, right? Like, because you swapped out.
No, but he didn't, did he? All he did was he switched to the G2 and the RC2, which meant he had to update the firmware on the air unit.
Oh, right,
but he didn't have to change the wiring at all. He's still on the...
So when you use the old... this is something I don't know. When you use the OG air unit and the V2 goggles with the Black RC... Do you need to use that MSP Plus DisplayPort option that got added in 4.4?
He wasn't doing MSP. He was doing the old MSP style of OSD.
Yes.
He
so
didn't
the
root
suggestion
them.
would be to go to the presets and apply the
Well
O3 preset, and that will be the correct preset you want. Even though you have an OG air unit, because you're on goggles too, you want to apply the O3 preset.
2 minds are better than one. Thank you, Plenty. You got it. So what we need to do, the setup is different. If you had rooted the V1 goggles, the setup would be identical. I forgot that I forgot that the V1 goggles had to be rooted to support OSD. I forgot all about that old shitty custom DJI OSD because it's been so long and every quad I've dealt with has been rooted. And that's great, Plenty. Thank you for reminding me. We need to go to the presets tab. We need to choose Betaflight 4.4, which should be selected automatically. And we're going to type O3. and we're going to choose OSD for FPV-WTF DJO3 Avatar HD. And then what you need to do is you need to choose the correct UART number that your air unit MSP is on. So if you don't know, go to the ports tab. And like in my case, do you see it would be UART 4? UART 4 has already got MSP enabled. So we would select that in the preset. Load that preset, and it should work.
The other suggestion is you switched goggles. So maybe you need to enable that canvas option. Like there's HD and canvas, right?
Yeah, but he would still see something.
Okay, that's something I don't know.
It would either be too large or too small, but he would still see it.
Okay, and there's no custom OSD option anymore. It's just that HD versus canvas on the goggles too, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. Well, one way or another, we'll get the questions answered. Thank you for the donation. Wanna Get Fly, thank you for a $10 super chat. When graduating to 6S from 4S 1350, what size do choosy people choose in 6S? Well, here's what you can do. There's two ways to approach this question. The first one is, check this out. 6 out of 4 is 1.5. So the 6S voltage is 1.5 times 4S voltage. Then we're going to take your milliamp hours, your 4S milliamp hours, 1350 milliamp hours. We're going to divide by 1.5, and we're going to get 900. The equivalent 6S battery to a 4S 1350 is 900 milliamp hours. Okay. So you could search for a 900-ish milliamp hour. You're not going to find. I would search for at least 1,000. Is going to be the size where you're gonna find below 1,000. Most of them are going to be for smaller quads with XT30s. So you'd be about 1,000 or 1,100. The other thing you could do is you can look up the weight of your battery and search for 6S batteries at about the same weight. That's correct, though. 900 times 1.5. Yeah. Yeah, that's correct math. I'm surprised it was that small. I expected it to be a little bigger than that, but I hadn't really worked the math. So I would shoot for somewhere between 1,100 and 1,300 milliamp hours. But if you want the exact same watt hours, that's how to find it. What would you suggest for a first-time drone that's HD0 ready? There's not a lot of HD0 bind and flies. Here's one that you could consider. The Mobula 6 HD0. In stock. Is it in stock? Out of stock. I don't know. You might have a hard time finding one in stock, but I think there's a Mobula 7 HD0. Yeah, that may be better. That's going to handle the weight a little better, although the weight isn't that much different between analog and this. Out of stock. Well, finding one in stock may be impossible. So there's not a ton of HD0 bind and flies outside the micros. Tiny Trainer. The Tom John suggests the HD0 V2 Tiny Trainer ready to fly. Oh, I don't know if this is a great first quad. It's a good quad though. Tiny Trainer ready to fly. Crossfire Tracer or Ghost. Oh, no ELRS. Inventory on the way. Shut up. That's a good. That's actually a better choice. If you're going to fly outdoors, the Firefly 2S Nano Baby HD0 is a good choice. I actually really like this quad. I don't know why I forgot that it existed. My head went to Tiny Whoops, and then I got discouraged by the fact that they were all out of stock. Yeah, this is a good one too. I really like this one. Okay, those are some suggestions. Hey, Blunty and JB, what's a good pre-built sub 250 that I can easily swap in an HD0 90 FPS camera? Racing oriented. Easy peasy. Just showed it. Thank you for a $10 super chat, Anthony Jones. The Tiny Trainer. The Tiny Trainer, you said racing oriented. Bam. The Tiny Trainer is a freaking great sub 250 racer. Freaking great. It flies good. It's durable, relatively speaking. Obviously, nothing's impervious. It's freaking amazing. Currently, they're out of stock on ExpressLRS, but just buy it. Tell them in the comments or something. Tell them you'll put the receiver in yourself or wait for it to come back in stock. Or build your own. Very, very good. Nobody cares about sub 250, especially for racing. Well, you know who does care about sub 250 for racing? Do you know who does? I'll tell you who does. Who does is Anthony Jones. That's who does. And that's all you need to know. Thank you for a $5 super chat from Gage. To follow up, 2 Tattoo 1056 bats in parallel, 7 minutes of aggressive flying. Voltage drop on 2-second full throttle punch, 40% less than a Tattoo 1400. Yeah, because... Okay, Gage... So I don't want to sound like a hater. You're doing what you're doing. Good for you. But like, I feel like that you've like got this idea that you like cracked the code or something. What you've got, it's not because the batteries are in parallel. Okay? You have a 2100 milliamp hour battery. That's what you have. You took two 1050s, you put them in parallel, and you have a 2100 milliamp hour battery. For the size and weight of those two 2100s and all the parallel adapter and everything, you can just buy a 2100 milliamp hour 6S. It should be more compact and a little bit lighter and provide as good or better results. So when you were like, hey, can I put these packs in parallel? I was like, yeah, sure, go for it. Like if you just happen to have a bunch of 1050s laying around and you want longer flight time, good for you. That's a great application for that. But the reason the two 1050s performed better than a 1400 is because they're actually a 2100, and so obviously they're going to perform better. They're bigger, they're heavier, etc. It's okay, just so we're clear. And thank you for the $5 super chat when I reply by shitting all over your comment. Sorry about that. He's like, yes, I know. That wasn't my point, Bardwell. You don't have to correct me. I just wanted to tell you about my results. You don't have to be like that. Fair. A drone with Cadix Vista OSD. Wait a second. Is that Sadix? It is. The Portuguese has come back. Sadix Vista. OSD not working. Send help. Carter is cool. Thank you for a $2 super chat. Carter is cool. This is the kind of question that is better solved where we can go back and forth, where I can say, hey, can you send me a picture of your wiring? Can I see your ports tab? We go back and forth. This kind of question, sort of a deep technical troubleshooting question, better solved in email. So I'm going to ask you to please email me, jb@joshuabardwell.com, with this question. Anybody actually can do that. In case you're new here, my email address is jb@joshuabardwell.com. It is open to any questions you might have. I give priority. I answer the patrons' questions first and more promptly, but I do get to just about everybody's question. And so if you have a question like that, I'll be happy to go through it with you. Okay. Please help with my Tiny Whoop issue. I sent an email with audio and video of the issue. I'm just at a loss. Thank you, Parkour Guy, for a $5 super chat. All right, Parkour Guy, we're going to try and find your email. Parkour Guy. Oh, great. Part 2, tiny whoop issue. Okay, so my tiny whoop will throttle up and keep going till I disarm, making a weird trilling noise until I give a touch of throttle or roll. Brand new frame that's not cracked. Okay, that was going to be my first question. Do you have a cracked frame? Because it can, the vibrations caused by a cracked frame 100% can cause this. We'll watch the video, but I kind of already think I know what it's going to sound like. Let's watch the video, though. Yup. Okay, so when you hear that sound and your drone takes off and won't throttle down, you have a problem with the vibration. You either have not enough gyro filtering, you have excess, like really excessive degain, or you have a mechanical issue like a cracked frame plate, a cracked arm. If you have a plastic frame, it's broken somewhere. You have a mechanical issue that's causing excess vibration. Those are the things that can cause that. Okay? Now, I don't know which of those things are causing it, but you could also have a flight controller with a damaged gyro. I mean, it's possible. Sorting out which of those it is going to be tricky. Okay? Especially on a live stream. But those are the things you should be looking for that can cause that. If you've been jacking with the PIDs, that's what the problem is. Put the PIDs back to defaults. If you loaded a preset, put the PIDs back to defaults. Those are check for mechanical problems, loose motor, cracked frame, etc. Loose flight controller, etc. Oh my goodness, Torpedo Law. Torpedo Law says, I cut my finger today following your new video on how to hand launch drones. Good. I told you you shouldn't do that. I told you, this is dangerous. Don't do this. And then you did it anyway and you cut your finger. That's why I told you not to do it. I'm sorry you cut your finger. That sucks for you. I hope it heals up nicely and leaves you a nice little scar to remind you that you judged this one wrong. You bit off more than you could chew. You failed to take adequate safety precautions, and you paid the price. Thankfully, you learned this lesson only for the cost of a cut finger, which all in all is a relatively small price to pay. And you will remember this lesson going forward. Or, if you're a certain kind of person, you will just continue doing dumb shit that you're not capable of pulling off successfully and injuring yourself until eventually you take yourself out of the gene pool, probably not before you breed, because that's how the world is. And your children will have to learn the same lessons as you because you won't be there to teach them because you did something stupid. Does that sound... That's a sad story. For the sake of your future children, spend tonight looking at your cut finger and thinking about how you ended up in this situation. Reevaluate your life and do better next time. It hurts. It's tough, but it's what you needed to hear. Yell louder, Daddy. Ooh, ooh. I disagree. I disagree with the people who say there's no point at all to hand launching. And by the way, I say that with all of the disclaimers that hand launching is dangerous and you shouldn't do it. If you hand launch just to look cool, by God, you better be sure you don't mess it up. But because looking cool isn't that valuable most of the time. You know? Like I've done toss launches because I wanted to look cool. And I did them in situations where looking cool was very important and there were people who really needed to be impressed. And one time I did a toss launch and the quad failed to arm. And it just went beep, 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 thump. And the people I was trying to impress were not impressed. And so, you know, high risk, high reward, I guess is what I would say about that. Anyway, continuing the super chats. Zippy Drone. Zippy, thank you for a $5 super chat. Drone freaking out when applying pitch. What could cause this? New stack and motors feel smooth. And here is a link. Can I go to this link? I cannot copy the fucking text. I cannot copy the fucking text. Damn it. So I will manually type the URL. Yay, I found it. Have I typed it incorrectly? No.
I put it in chat.
No, now I'm going to type it. PNT 7 BEIFZPW. I want to type it. Damn it. All right, fine. So part of the problem is when you say freak out, that's not really descriptive enough. I'm glad you included video. But when just, you know, for future reference, when talking about these kind of things, it's better to describe what the drone did, how it moved. The drone tumbled back into the left after I started a power loop, I pitched back, and the drone tumbled back into the left. Just freak out. That doesn't really, it could mean a lot of things. Let's watch it in slow motion and evaluate what happens here. Let's go to half speed. Okay, that's the relevant part. The first thing I want to know is which direction does the drone tumble when it first begins to tumble? So here we're flying. It's moving as commanded. Here we're flying. It's moving as commanded. Here we're flying. It's moving as commanded. We pitch over. Where is the first moment where it starts to do what it's not supposed to do? Right there. The pilot was just doing a power loop. The pilot did not input left yaw. So we've got left yaw. Like the frickin' Zapruder film. Back into the left. Right? Here, we're fine. Right here, we get back left yaw. And we're rolling left. Back into the left. Back into the left. Just like the Zapruder film. And we're done. So the back left motor stopped making thrust because it's the one that fell. The back left motor stopped making thrust. And now we keep rolling. Does it catch itself? No, it's not going to catch itself. Ooh, now it just falls on the ground. Okay, so back left motor stopped making thrust. Now, what does that mean? Prop broke, prop came off because the nut was loose, motor stopped spinning, ESC died. These are some things. Yeah, that could be doing it. Gregory Hurst says there should be a beta flight feature that tells you motor 3 not responding. It's interesting that you say that. Oh, heck. Ah, got it! I made a video about this. The number one way to kill a motor or ESC on your FPV drone has to be trying to spin the motor when the motor is... So, I'm not going to watch the whole video, but I made this video. Stop burning motors with Betaflight RPM alarm. And this puts in your OSD... It puts... Where is it? When a motor stops spinning... ESC1R34. There is also, you could just put the motor RPM. Yes, that's true. you could just put the motor RPM. So if you go to the OSD and you put motor diagnostics, there we go. If you put motor diagnostics, it shows a graph of the output of each motor. What you will see is that the motor that is failed will go to full. And that will indicate which motor failed. That's a better way to do it. That's a better way to do it. So you can put motor diagnostics in your OSD. So that's going to tell you if a motor fails while you're flying. This one, Betaflight RPM alarm, will tell you if a motor is blocked, like it's got a stick in it and you're trying to take off. Those are two things. Sleepy wants to know if there's a JB Discord. Absolutely, there is a Discord, but you can't be on it. The only people who get to be on my Discord are people who join my Patreon. $2 a month. That's how much it costs. It's up to you. I'll still answer your questions. Sleepy, you can... I have the hiccups. I'm so sorry. I have the hiccups now. Sleepy, I'll still answer your questions. I'll be happy to do it. Just email me, jb@joshuabardwell.com. The Discord is faster sometimes. I answer my emails once or twice a day, usually. Maybe a little more sometimes. But I clear the inbox once or twice a day, usually. Discord is usually faster if they can get the answer, but they usually can't. Let's continue reading Super Chats. They just keep coming in. I'm just going to keep reading them. Convince me to buy or not buy a 7-inch with O3, please. Thank you for a $2 Super Chat, Mo FPV. I am so excited. I'm going to put a Medlin drone tilt gimbal on my 7-inch so the next time I go to chase an airplane, I can actually change the up tilt angle and follow the airplane and keep it in shot. I cannot wait. 7-inch is the best platform for mountain diving, for mountain, cruising. It's fantastic. Can carry the weight of a GoPro, no problem. Follow a drift car. 7-inch is the ultimate chase platform. You need to buy one. If you don't have a 7-inch, where are you at? There you go. That's all you get for $2, though. Use my affiliate link. Wirtz, thank you for a $5 super chat. I have a Crux 3.5 and I have to repair it constantly. Would love to convert it to a closed duct frame like a Whoop. Where should I begin? You should begin by buying a Whoop and not trying to convert a Crux 3.5 to a Whoop frame. A Crux 3.5 is what it is. Leave it. Leave it at what it is. Okay? That's like saying I have this open frame go-kart and I'm tired of it not having seatbelts and airbags and a full shell. Where should I start converting it? Like, don't. Let your go-kart be a go-kart. If you want a Cinewhoop, just buy or build a Cinewhoop. The thing is, you're saying, well, that's just a waste of money. The Crux 3.5 is really good at what it is. If you have to if you have to repair it a lot, then you're flying it really hard. You're crashing it a lot. I don't know. But it's really good for what it is. And if you take those in, like the motors aren't going to be right for a Cinewhoop frame, yada, yada, yada. Just get or build a Cinewhoop, keep your Crux 3.5, and continue to enjoy flying it. And you get another quad. Yeah. Most controversial FPV hot take. Thank you for a $5 super chat. Bro Wild. Oh, I'm on the wrong screen. Sorry. Now you can't see. You can see. Most controversial FPV hot take is that I don't think Lumpy FPV was wrong when he molested that goat. I said it. I said it. I take back my apology. I take it back. I didn't mean any of that. I saw my analytics go down and I got scared that I wasn't going to be able to afford my third Lamborghini. But I didn't mean it. In fact, I'll just say it. I was with him when he molested that goat. It was my goat. I'm not embarrassed. And that's the most controversial FPV hot take. Sammy D, thank you for a $5 super chat. Getting back into the hobby, I fly DJI V1 and analog. Want to fly the O3 camera. I have Betaflight OSD and backward compatible to my V1. What model DJI is best? Sammy D, what model DJI is best is your question. I can't decide if you're... Blunty, how would you interpret this? He wants to fly the O3 camera. When he says, what model DJI, does he mean the goggles? The DJI V1 goggles cannot fly the O3. Let's start there. I don't know how to... Let's get that out of the way. Sorry, Blunty, I asked you a question, then I kept talking. I do that sometimes. You need to upgrade your goggles because the V1 goggles cannot work with the O3. Correct, Blunty?
Yeah, I think maybe a little bit of confusion there, but yeah, basically if you've got DJI V1 goggles, you can't fly an O3 camera with that in any way. So there's not a model of DJI that helps you do that. You need to either upgrade your goggles or you need to buy a Vista or a OG air unit, and that's going to be the best you get.
So he says, want to fly the O3 camera. Well, it's okay. He has to fly the O3 camera. You have the O3 air unit. That's it. There's no, those two are part and parcel of each other. He wants Betaflight OSD. Well, the O3 supports it fully. And backward compatible to my V1. I think he's asking about goggles. That's the answer. That's the interpretation of the question that makes it make the most sense. And the goggles you'll want are either, it doesn't matter. You could apply the V2 goggles, which are forwards compatible to the O3, or the Goggles 2 or the Integra, which are backwards compatible with your older air units. What model is best? Well, the V2 is harder and harder to get, but if you can get it, it'll be at a good price. I feel like buying the V2 today is risky because you know you're buying a product that is like really at the end of its life. And it's not that it won't be useful going forward. People who currently own them will continue to use them, but I feel like you really have to know what you're getting into to buy a V2 goggle today. And I think the Integra or the Goggles 2 are the ones I would suggest. What do you think, Bunty? You agree? Disagree?
I'm sorry, I'm pulling questions and talking to people, so I'm not paying attention.
All right, I'm going to assume you said I was right. V2 gives you 120 hertz refresh rate. That's true. You get a little bit lower latency with the V2 than with the G2. You could get a V2 used for $225. Is that real? Is that real? Oh, that changes things. That's like half the price of a G2. Can you really get them used for $225 to $250? That I don't even know. I'm shocked to hear that. I didn't know they were that cheap. If you could get a V2 used for that price, then that's hard to argue against. Because they will work with the O3. They will work with your existing air units. The difference is this. If you get the G2, you will not have to route your existing air units to get OSD. So that's something. But routing isn't like the end of the world. Some people struggle with it. B-Man FPV, thanks for a $10 super chat. Again, continue. We're going to get back to the other chats as soon as I finish the super chats, but the super chats just keep coming in. So that's how we do it. To call back to your request yesterday to expand super chat topics, I'm calling for a JB versus Season 23 Hot Ones challenge. Let's do this. I'm down. I'm down for doing another Hot Ones challenge. It was hard. I'll tell you this. I would not sell the last dab for $20 this time. I think that was too cheap. Because as soon as I did that, someone donated $100, for which I'm grateful. And immediately bought like 5 last. I'm like, and I did it. I didn't back out. But I thought that as soon as that $100 super chat came in, I thought, oh my God, I've priced these way too cheap. I'm going to suffer. If I'm going to suffer that much, I'd like to be paid a little bit more for it. Thank you, Freelojo FPV, for sharing this picture. For those who don't know what I'm talking about, with Lumpy and the goat, Lumpy FPV molesting a goat, I just want to share this image with you. That poor goat. That poor goat. Bro Wild, thank you for a $2 super chat. That's it. That's all I got for hot takes, my friend. Riz Hazan, yes, I did read your email with suggestions about the RG Pilot project. I have not been back to that project. I may still go back to it. I did read. I appreciate your suggestions. They were good suggestions. I may act on some of them. I read it. I have it still. It is still in my inbox, Riz Hazan. I read it. I was like, oh, that's good. I'll remember this when I get back to that project. But I didn't reply to it, which you might think would be a courteous thing to do. To say, oh, thank you for sending this. These are great suggestions, and I'll take them into account. I thought that in my head as I moved to the next of the 300 emails that I was answering that day. And then I didn't take the time to type it, which was, some would say, rude and inconsiderate. Fair enough. People still talking about hand catching. Here's the thing about hand launching, hand catching. There are times when you legitimately need to hand launch. Now, you may never have run into those times. But I made that video because I have resisted making a video about hand launching for a long time because it's unsafe. And I thought, I'm not going to encourage people to do things that are unsafe. No matter how many disclaimers I put on it, I will not feel good about doing that. And I was talking to some folks who really, really wanted me to find the safest possible way for them to hand launch and toss launch. And while thinking about that, I thought about the PID at min throttle, which would cause the quad not to fight you. And I know that I didn't invent PID at min throttle. That's just Mr. Seal's idle up. KISS has done that for years. I would like to explicitly say the whole time I was making that video, I was thinking people are going to comment, KISS has done this for years. KISS has done this for years. That's absolutely true. But there are times when hand launching is the option that you need. And it's not just about wanting to look cool. And I thought, okay, I'm convinced that I will now make a video about trying to hand launch as safely as possible. But if you're saying there's never a reason why you need to hand launch, well, yeah, I don't think I agree with you. I think that most people who hand launch just do it because it looks cool. And it's probably not worth the risk. Hand launching from a boat. Thank you, Super Deluxe. Exactly. Super Deluxe. If you're on a boat and the boat is bouncing in the waves and you need to launch a drone, how are you going to launch it? It will just tip over. The way to do it is to hand launch it. That's how you do it. So, that's just one example. Anyway, so that's why I made the video. Let's go back to the questions. What size frame and motors would you use for live streaming motocross, possibly carrying a naked Blackmagic Pocket 4K. I don't know the answer to this off the top of my head, but we can try and solve this question. What is a Black Magic Pocket 4K weigh? 700 grams. So it's less than a kilogram. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look for an FPV drone carrying a BMP 4K. That's 3 years ago. I feel like that's a little out of date. Here's 2 years ago from the same company. Here's 1 year ago. Let's open that one. And let's check out this one here from 2 years ago. Muscle Aerial Cinema. Are they going to tell us about their build? Shendrone's thick. Okay, so my point here is to show you how I would approach answering this question when I don't know the answer, sort of in a teach a man to fish way. And I don't know if this is going to be the best answer, but like you asked and you paid or you didn't pay a super chat, you just asked, whatever. So I'm going to try and show you how to answer it. Shendrone's thick is what he's using, okay? Let's look up the Shendrone's thick and see what they recommend. So this is a drone that somebody said they were using to carry a BMP CC4K. Let's just look at their footage and see if it's garbage. You know, like if the footage is garbage, then, well, oh yeah, I need to build this drone. I don't think it's going to be garbage. Shendrone's thick is a good frame, but like, let's at least look at their footage. Looks pretty smooth, right? Don't see a ton of vibration or anything. It seems like they didn't put a LUT on it. I like low contrast though. I'm down for that. Yeah, it looks pretty good, right? Okay, so we go, okay. Shendrone's thick. Fair. Tell me more about the Shendrone's thick. What motors? How do you build it? What motors and props? I think it's a 10-inch. Here we go. Brother Hobby 3115 1050 kV. And he's running 9-inch props. Higher pitched props down. Oh, because it's an X8. So there we go. Now we've got a beginning point to start to look at motors. 31mm motors around 1000 kV. Going up to 10-inch props, I don't think you're going to use 1000 kV. All right. So now we start picking through this build log. Right? And we start figuring out what we're going to do. Here's Quad Standard Labs, who's built a naked Blackmagic Pocket. What do they carry it with? Now, a naked BMP is going to be different than a full one. What do we got here? Buy now. Lumineer QAV Pro Cinelifter. Sure, we'll look at that one. Swole 10-inch X8. Sure. Kestrel 9. Oh, all of these look roughly sized to carry the Blackmagic. Here's a Sicario and a thick. Here's a thick X8. What motors does he use? Well, only 28mm motors. 2808 1350. So that's a smaller, higher kV motor. So this guy feels like 28mm is fine. But he's carrying the... No, he's not. So it looks like now we've got a range of about 2808 to 2812 all the way up to 31mm motors. And then we start to build up. We just say, what are other people doing? And we start to build it up, right? There you go. That's how I would approach that problem. But I don't have an answer for you off the top of my head. That's how I would approach that problem. I got a new bind and fly drone. How would I bind it? It says I have to use Betaflight or something. Not enough information to answer this question, friend. I don't know what drone you have. I don't know what receiver it has. I don't know what controller it has. And also, yeah, so there way more information is needed. Best thing to do is to email me, jb@joshuabardwell.com. People want me to show the Straw Hat Sam flying squirrel build. Oh, this is a cool one. This is cool. That's a quad pusher. Does it carry a Black Magic? I'm not sure. Do you really feel good putting a $3,000 rig in the air with only 4 motors? I guess. Yeah, that's a cool build. No doubt. Yeah, that's a cool one. You guys, I gotta pause for a second. My freaking washer is beeping because it can't freaking drain because it's clogged. And it's going to keep beeping for the next 40 minutes while I finish the stream. And it's going to make me crazy. So pause 1 second. I got to go freaking hit stop on the washer. Hold on. Okay. There we go. A digital video and control link like ExpressLRS looks to be advancing, but flight controller and ESC technology looks to have stagnated with no new tech for a while. Would you agree? Define new tech, right? I mean, Betaflight 4.5 is coming out. It will have new features. iNav 7 just came out. It has new features and capabilities. If you mean that the hardware itself hasn't jumped ahead leaps and bounds, flight controllers with new, cheaper chips on them, the AT chips, have come out. There's only so much room for innovation in the hardware because hardware changes that's a lot of work. There would have to be a lot of payoff for that. And the flight controllers are fairly refined.
It also costs money. I think the biggest issue we're seeing there is cost because people want cheaper flight controllers. Like, there's no solution for flight controllers. Like ExpressLRS was a cheap solution, right? You slap a couple chips on there and you're good to go, and it works the same price or cheaper as you were previously paying for your controlling. Right. But like, there are great, huge jumps in flight controller technology, like the H7. You can do full pixel SD on analog. How many people are using that?
No one wants it.
Right. It's like nobody wants to pay that much for a flight controller and then implement it. And we've seen H7s become available from people like Dominic Clifton, and people don't order them, right? Like, it's not, there's no demand for that increase in technology that I've seen. And I think that's why we don't see more innovation in flight controller, like upgrades or whatever.
I 100%. But one of the biggest things that is holding FPV back in terms of technological development, let's put it that way, is that people in the FPV world are extremely price sensitive. And they're price sensitive. The last time I said that, somebody was like, well, life is hard. Things are expensive. How dare you? And I'm like, I think I may have referred to people in FPV as cheap bastards in a sort of a flippant way. And then they thought that was callous, if you will. But it's a fact that if you have a domain where someone is willing to throw a shitload of money at it, you see rapid development. Look at SpaceX, right? SpaceX is doing really cool shit, and one of the reasons they're doing cool shit is that they threw a lot of money at an interesting and lucrative problem. Well, the people in the FPV space is very small, and people in the FPV space very much would like to pay as little as possible while getting the sort of experience that they want to get. And when someone comes along and says, I have something better, everyone in FPV goes, hmm? And then they say, and it's going to be more expensive. And they go, bleh! And then they don't buy it. And the company goes out of business, you know? And so when you say, well, why isn't there innovation in the flight controllers in ESC space? There 100% is. You know who's doing it? DJI. In drones that you don't fly because they're not FPV drones. Do you know who's innovating in the flight controller space? The Pixhawk flight controller. You know, the Orange Cube Pixhawk flight controller with frickin' or PX4 or whatever, however you say it. One of them's the flight controller and one was the firmware, and I don't know. But those innovations are happening. There's the Orange Cube flight controller or the Holy Bro Pixar, the PX6. It can frickin' do CAN bus. It can connect to CAN bus peripherals. That's innovative. Why doesn't a Betaflight flight controller do that? Because it is a free open source project developed in people's spare times for no money and no profit. And therefore, that's why there's no innovation. But I think that's been true for a long time. Like, if you look at a Betaflight flight controller today, an F7 flight controller today, and an F1 flight controller 7 years ago, there's many similarities. If you look at an F3 flight controller from, I guess, 5 years ago, roughly, there's like not as many differences. And one of the reasons is that we sort of refined ourselves to the cheapest, most minimalist design that does what we need it to do. And the other is that a lot of the innovation happens in the software. That's like you look at a hammer and go, why haven't hammers innovated? For the last 10,000 years, a hammer is just a big heavy metal thing on the end of a handle. Who's inventing new nail driving technology? And yes, I know there are some fancy new hammers out there with different technology. I've seen them on TikTok the same as you have. But the point is, you know, the firmware is doing the innovation and the hardware is just there to serve the firmware in some ways. Captain Bry points out a digital FPV is much more expensive than analog, and many people jumped. And you are 100% right about that. If it's good enough, they'll jump. If it's good enough, they'll jump. Do you run your HD0 Freestyle VTXs off a 12-volt BEC? No, I run them off VBAT. Will it not work correctly off 6S VBAT? The very first release of the HD0 Freestyle VTX did not run off a 6S, and it came with a voltage regulator you were supposed to use. All of the modern releases of the HD0 Freestyle VTX work on up to 6S voltage, no problem. Pretty sure. It will work correctly, unless it's the V. But it'll, like, if you had run it off a V1 Freestyle off of 6S, you would have just fried it. I think. What about the Betaflight rescue features and loiter? Why is there minimum development of those? Because, that's a tougher question. One way to put it is that the Betaflight devs are not that interested in it. I do know that there have been some pull requests submitted that have been rejected for various reasons. And I'm not sure what the reason is. We'd have to look at a specific pull request and why it was rejected. I know that the Betaflight devs are resistant to adding features that they then feel like they'll have to support, even after the original submitter of the pull request maybe gets bored and goes away. So they're hesitant to add those new features. The other thing is that there is some concern about code base bloat and the code base becoming too big to fit. Like, we already have chips that are being sized out because they don't have the flash memory to hold the code. So adding more code that takes up more space, there has to be an argument for it. And the thinking is that Betaflight just isn't for that. Yeah, Blunty, go ahead.
I feel like we should be clear. There was an entire rework. They rewrote the entire GPS RTH code from 4.3 to 4.4. So, like, there's been plenty of work done. It's just not on loiter or other features you want.
Yeah, but
people
Blunty,
are paying attention.
It doesn't loiter, Blunty. I want everything I want now for instantly, exactly as I want it. Don't tell me about the other things you did that I also wanted, but now that I have them, I refuse to acknowledge that anyone did them. Right? Is that about right?
Fair enough.
No, you're right. They did a shitload of work on GPS Rescue. GPS Rescue got a ton better between 4.3 and 4.4. So. Anyway. Let's see here. We got a question here from Steadfast RC who says, I know there have been multiple firmware updates since your original HD0 goggle video. I'm planning on continuing to fly analog on 6 of my whoops, but I'm starting to get into walk-snail now on the bigger quads. Are the HD0 goggles with the walk-snail VRX still a good way to go? I would say yes. As far as analog goes, if you often fly at races with a lot of pilots in the air, or anytime you've got a lot of analog pilots in the air, or at very long range where the signal gets very weak, or in the presence of strong interference, some people have reported problems with the analog system on the HD0 goggles going to black screen. I hedge this a little bit because I have flown the HD0 goggles on analog a lot. In situations where there were 3 or 4 pilots in the air at a time. It wasn't a race. The pilots were somewhat spaced out, but I haven't run into this at all. But enough people who like racers, some racers are moving away from the HD0 goggles and going back to the Orcas because this problem is so pernicious and hasn't been solved. So if you want my personal experience, I think the HD0 are good analog goggles, and they were good with the walk-snail VRX. I think if you want to do walk-snail and analog together, the HD0 goggles, ironically, may be the best choice, even though you don't fly HD0. But, oh, Betaflight. Oh, Betaflight. Let's see what we got here.
I think we had a hiccup there. I don't know if you dropped any packets or if that was YouTube.
I do not show any dropped frames. 0, wait a minute, 0 out of 1090. I feel like there was a hiccup because my frame count is now 1090, and that's not enough packets.
Gotcha. People are saying you're back, so.
Yeah. That's weird. Live 1 minute 40 seconds. Dropped frame 0. But 0 out of 2000, and that's not enough. That's weird. Oh my god. The frickin' washer is beeping again. All right. Hang on. Be right back. Okay, well, good news. The washer was beeping because it's done. So I can put the clothes in the dryer, so it'll be done tomorrow morning, which is why I had them running during the live stream. Okay. Okay, continuing on. Any opinion on the latest Betaflight edition, Betaflight 4.5? Is it stable and ready for hobbyists? No. If it was stable and ready for hobbyists, it wouldn't be a release candidate. Is it even a release candidate? Betaflight 4.5. Is it out? Plenty to Betaflight 4.5 drop? I'm sorry.
No, it did not.
Why are there release notes?
I'm sure because there are for, I think, for every time they do this.
Yeah, but it's not out yet. They're just sort of starting to make the release notes so you'll be ready for them. It can't be out yet. I need to get my shit in gear if it's out.
It's
Release
not
is
out.
Betaflight 4.4.3. Okay, great. Yeah, when Betaflight 4.5 is not even a release candidate yet. There are many people who choose to run pre-release Betaflight versions, and a lot of times you get away with it. But no, obviously it is not stable and ready for hobbyists. When the Betaflight devs think it's ready for hobbyists, they'll release it. And if no one is more qualified than them to say, and remember, they're not always right. As Super Deluxe points out, remember 4.2 release candidates, where there were like 16 different release candidates because they kept finding bugs. And people were like, that's not how release candidates work. Okay, I may be misremembering some of those details. Yeah, plenty.
Can I pick a gripe?
Yeah,
I'm gonna gripe.
Absolutely. I love it when you do that.
All right, you know what really pisses me off is that when you start Betaflight Configurator, it tells you to update to the release candidate of 10.10.
Shut up.
So why are they doing that? I know there's probably just coded in to give you the new version that shows up. But, like, you shouldn't be recommending people to flash a release candidate. That would be my opinion.
Why don't I see that? Is there an option I've disabled? I don't see that. It just starts up and sits there. Maybe I already got rid of the message. I don't know. Yeah, that's annoying. Don't recommend people switch to a release candidate. Although I guess somebody has to try release candidates. All right. So, if you decide to run a pre-release version of Betaflight, know that you are a tester. And I would not say that means it is ready for hobbyists. Oh, Blunty, you're only going to see this if you're running 4.5 already, aren't you?
No, this is when I start Betaflight Configurator without a flight controller plugged in.
You are using an outdated version of the beta. Maybe it's because
And
I
I
turned
peeved off because it can suggest to any user. I've had so many people I've helped upgrade to 10.10 RC1, and you know what? It's probably fine. But now I have to ask all of them, like, have you tried 10.9? Is it a bug with 10.10 RC1? I don't have any idea because it's not freaking released yet. It's extremely frustrating, to be honest.
Well, I don't know why I'm not seeing this. But yeah, no, they should not be recommending average people switch to RC1. That RCs are release candidates. They're not ready for wide distribution, I would say. Anyway. Yeah, great. I agree. Marcos Donoso says, I'm sad I bought a Nazgul F5 with a Caddx Vista Air Unit Lite. I could not make it work. I'm new and I need help. Best to email jb@joshuabardwell.com and I'll try and get you sorted out. We probably won't solve all of the problems that we have to solve here on the live stream. jb@joshuabardwell.com, be my guest. Other people are saying they got the same update recommendation, Blunty. Very strange. What would be your go-to FPV camera and transmitter to go 5 miles? What's 5 miles in kilometers? 8 kilometers. The DJI-03 wouldn't be my first choice. DJI-03 is not ideal for aftermarket antennas. I'm not confident the 03 would go 8 kilometers on the stock stuff, not without like some really careful planning. I wouldn't feel great about it. I know that it can. I know that someone will, but I wouldn't feel great about it. Analog is a safe choice. You get a 2.5 watt analog video transmitter and a nice high gain antenna, and you know you rock that all the way out as far as you want to go. HC0 can go a long way, but you don't have the ability to just crank the output power like you do with analog. It maxes out at something like whatever 1 watt. You can go pretty far on 1 watt though. And then walk snail. I think if I was gonna try to go long range, I would want the analog style breakup as opposed to digital style breakup where the bitrate gets low and then eventually at some point it just stops. So I would pick HD0 or analog. If with the right antenna, I think HD0 would easily go out 8 kilometers and give a much nicer image while you do it. I feel like HD0 I would give a try. My second choice might be walk snail with aftermarket antennas on the goggles, because they have antenna connectors. You can add high gain antennas. Yeah. Half Baked is talking about my toss launch video. PID off at 0 throttle. Can this be done only at the first throttle one time? No. Half Baked, the way it works is if you have air mode and I only discovered this after I recorded that video. So that's why it's not in the video, although I did put it in a comment. If you have air mode enabled, then when you do PID at 0 throttle off, after you take off and you exceed like 25% throttle, I think it is the threshold, then the PIDs are permanently enabled for the rest of the flight until you arm the next time. But if you turn air mode off, then PID at 0 throttle continues to be active the whole flight. So if you want PID at 0 throttle to stay, if you want the PIDs to stay off at 0 throttle, which I don't know why you would want that, but you need to disable air mode. And that'll do that. Bro Wild, thank you for continuing our goat saga with a $2 super chat. Let's see here. Nutty Brewer asks, I ordered the Whoop light and the Freestyle V2 for my sub 250 build. Freestyle V2 is too heavy, so I'm considering uncasing it. Whoo! You take your life into your hands if you do that. The original Sharkbite video transmitter was a dual board design that had terrible durability because the boards were not adequately supported. It really depends on how the boards are connected. I would hesitate to decase a Freestyle V2 because I think like you could get away with it with the Vista because they're connected by ribbon cables. But I know that I don't know what I haven't seen a decase Freestyle V2, but I know that Carl put a lot of work into the design of that case to try to make it as durable as possible. And I think your durability would just be trash if you did that. So I wouldn't decase a Freestyle V2. I would go with the Whoop. And with the Whoop, you could put a different camera on the Whoop Lite VTX. Like I'm 99%. I guess I'm not 100% sure. I'm 99% sure you could though. And that's maybe what I would do. Cosine Kid says the Freestyle V2 can be decased to just leave the middle. Interesting. But then you'd have heat buildup. I don't know. I guess. Maybe. The Tom John, going back to our long range question, the Tom John says, I haven't done 5 miles with O3 and analog comfortably. I have not. A lot of long range guys are going with HD0 and I plan to as well. Sounds like HD0 is where the long range guys are going, at least according to the Tom John.
It's just, I think it's because it's much more, right? Digital links have to maintain the signal and they just black out if they don't.
Right, and then they may not come back gracefully.
Yeah, HD0 comes in and out like analog, so it's a lot easier to be like, oh, now I need to shift my antenna a little bit and make sure the RSSI is better and stuff like that.
Yeah, yep, I agree completely. Can you use an amplifier with HD0? I don't see why not. If you had enough room, if it like weight capacity and battery capacity, I don't see why you couldn't use an amplifier. It's just a 5.8 gigahertz signal. I would, you'd have to try it, but I don't see why not. But then that, I almost said begs the question, except that's not what that phrase means, Mr. Pedantic. It doesn't beg the question, but that raises the question. Why doesn't HD0 just make a bigger version of their VTX with a bigger amplifier in it? Why don't they have a 5-watt amplifier version for somebody? And I don't know the answer.
I'd imagine they don't want that heat. Like, not heat, but like actual negative press heat, right?
From like the FCC?
I mean, random companies in China don't care, but I imagine Carl might care with HD0.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
Also, this is my producer side saying we need to go to Super Chats.
Oh, God, it's only 12 minutes to the end of the stream. Shoot. We got a bunch of Super Chats we need to read. Let's get on it. Thank you, Blunty. Andreas Atmudra. Any tips for troubleshooting VTX loss when going inverted? Seems to be an on and off problem for me. Usually this means that the power wire is loose or cracked or broken. I had a case where it was broken inside the insulation and I couldn't tell it was broken, but when it wiggled and vibrated, it would disconnect and go off. And so I would check the wiring, maybe even just replace the wiring. Parkour Guy says, what do the PID modes do? RPY mode fixed it. RPY mode. What the fuck is he talking about, Plenty? Which option is he talking about? RPY mode. I don't know the Betaflight CLI this intimately.
I put a screenshot. It's on the PIDs tab.
Oh, thank God. Thank you.
If you go to the PIDs tab.
All right, you're hired again.
On the left side, right above all the sliders.
iTerm relax? No.
There. No, down.
Oh.
Down there.
Oh, that makes the sliders affect roll and pitch or roll, pitch, and yaw. So you'll notice if I go to RP mode, yaw is now fixed numbers. Whereas with RPY, yaw moves with the sliders. Except it's not, is it?
I'm assuming that's what he's talking about because he said PID modes.
There we go. So what happened is that when you went to RP mode, it changed your yaw PID gains. It changed your PID gains. But no, just going to RP doesn't change the numbers at all. So this doesn't make any fucking sense. You went from RP. What were you on? You went to RPY. Oh, you had it either off or on RP. And then you went to RPY and you had some jacked up number in here. And when you went to RPY, the slider overrode the jacked up number. So if RPY mode fixed it, it means your PIDs were jacked up. And then when you went to the sliders, your PIDs weren't jacked up anymore and it fixed it. But that's what that does. When we got it off, we just have fixed numbers in here and we can just type numbers and the sliders don't do anything. When it's on RP, we have sliders only for pitch and roll, but not for yaw. We have it on RPY. The sliders affect all three axes. Please, please, please make your RC car an FPV. I am totally going to do that. I can't promise you when, but I totally am going to do it. Delta Foxtrot 6949. Thank you for a $10 super chat. I have a Vista with WTFOS. I'd like to be able to use it with my DJI goggles too. Sorry, that was me. I tried updating the Vista and DJI Assistant. Keep getting an error message, but it happens to them all. I emailed you the error message. Yes. Delta Foxtrot. In order to update the Vista with DJI Assistant, you must first uninstall WTFOS. Otherwise, you get that error message. Go into WTFOS in the web browser. Go into the same way you flashed it. Plug in the goggles. Go to WTFOS configurator. Uninstall WTFOS off the goggles. Then close everything down. Update the goggles. And then reinstall WTFOS. Except you won't need to reinstall WTFOS because the Goggles 2 doesn't need it. You'll just update the firmware. That's the answer. Cinecon, thank you for a $2 super chat. Does PID at min throttle affect flight while idle? PID at min throttle disables itself after you go above, I think it's 25% throttle for 5 seconds, assuming you have air mode activated. If you have air mode deactivated, then every time you lower the throttle to 0, the quad will basically stop flying, although the motors will stay at idle. Thank you for the ethics, the honesty, and all you do from Rhode Island. Christopher Besson, thank you for a $4.20 super chat. Speed Limit Challenger, thank you for a $5 super chat. For hand launching, just use a handheld grabby stick. Do not recommend. Do not recommend. I would not think that would be very secure, but I guess you do you. Thank you for a $5 super chat from Bincoro's channel. If you're doing indoor real estate fly-throughs as part of a 107 work, is RID required even though you're working indoors? If you are working indoors and exclusively indoors, nothing is required by the FAA. The FAA has no jurisdiction indoors. Therefore, you do not need a 107. You are not doing 107 work. Because 107 is an FAA thing, and the FAA only regulates the national airspace. Indoors is not in the national airspace. So you don't need remote ID, and you don't need a 107. And if you have a 107, it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. You have a 107, and you have a Baskin-Robbins frequent liquor club. Doesn't matter. It's not relevant to the work that you're doing when you're indoors. Frequent Liquor Club, also what Lumpy FPV was trying to get when he molested that goat. He just kept saying, hold still, I need this. And the goat just kept bang. It was really, well, anyway. If you're doing a real estate fly-through and you do an outdoor shot of the house and then you fly indoors, or you fly out the window and in another window, now the FAA is involved because you went outside. Tri-State Aerial, thank you for a $5 super chat. 4 quads, all with SpeedyBF 7 stack for months on Betaflight 4.4, upgraded to 4.42. All of them were having desyncs, moved to Mamba, no more issues. Why didn't you just... I don't have any thoughts about that. There are no known bugs on Betaflight 4.4.2 where they have desyncs. Why didn't you just go back to 4.4? Oh, you threw out four flight controllers for no reason. I can't imagine why going to 4.4.2 from 4.4.0 would cause desyncs. If I had a good answer, I'd give them to you. But I don't. People who didn't watch the whole stream are very confused about my references to Lumpy FPV and the goat. You will have to check it out on the Livestream Clips channel. If you want to make sure you get the entire saga of Lumpy FPV molesting a goat.
So I am pulling that clip. Okay.
Oh, you fucking well are. Are you joking? Yes, absolutely, Bloody. People need to know how this came about. Head on over to the Joshua Bardwell Livestream Clips channel where you can get the best content from my live streams curated by Blunty, except he apparently was not going to pull this whole running gag I've been doing about Lumpy FPV and a goat. I can see why you would choose not to do that. I want, and Blunty, I expect full points for effort on the thumbnail, Blunty. Okay? I don't want to see just a Bardwell head with a text. Lumpy FPV molested a goat? I want an A for effort on that one. Also, probably it shouldn't be Lumpy FPV molested a goat as the title. It should be
I was going to say, I think...
yeah. What would you write it as?
I don't know, but definitely not that.
Bardwell jokes about Lumpy FPV molesting a goat. No, we would still get demonetized for that. I don't know.
Lumpy
You'll have to figure.
FPV plus farm animal equals question mark? Something like that.
That's not bad. That's not bad. Oh, Kevin Sumner suggests we start the Lumpy FPV clip with this section and then rewind back to the beginning. This would be the point where it rewinds to the beginning. That's not a bad idea. I'll leave that up to you, Blunty. You edit the channel. But we'd love to have you as a subscriber over on the Livestream Clips channel, where you get highlights from my live streams. Yeah. Yeah.
How about a red arrow pointing to a goat and said, this goat has a story.
I leave it to you. Way back when you used to like make, like, I understand you're putting out more content. No. Oh, wait a minute. There's already been goat related content on my live stream. Shocker. You used to do like hand drawn stuff. I think you had more time for the thumbnails.
It was all just clip art. But I mean, they don't. No, the reason I stopped is because they don't give us any bonus. It's just me doing work for no reason.
Oh, yeah, no, I don't think anyone should do.
The views don't change at all. Like, there's no difference. Even the views are sometimes better when I don't put any effort in, and it's like, why would I spend time?
All I hear is that both of your attempts at making thumbnails are equally ineffective.
Hey, fair enough. I'll keep doing the shorter one.
Apparently, I'm in a really spunky mood today, Blunty. I'm sorry. I've been coming at you all live stream. Oh, I can hire Super Deluxe. I'm not hiring any more people. I've hired enough people. I've hired too many people. I'm not hiring any more people, Super Deluxe. You can send me your best thumbnails, and if I like them, I'll give you some exposure. Oh, hey. No, I'm joking. I don't do that. Let's wrap this up before I get myself in more trouble. Do we have any more super chats? Have I gotten them all, Blunty?
You got them all.
Yay, let's get the fuck out of here before anybody gives me some more money. Thank you, everybody, for coming out for the live stream. Siati is going to be streaming after us. And probably, I mean, Siati, I've set a really high bar for you here, my friend. So definitely rise to the occasion. Siati's posting the links to his stream, and you guys can get on with that. The washer is not beeping. Shut up. It's not beeping. Here's Blunty's link. Good night, everybody. Have a great stream, Siati.